Dum 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 dum. Hey everyone, this is Knitting According to the Nightingale. We are going to be looking at yarn in this video. Yarn is the heart of knitting. Choosing the right yarn can make life easier as you knit and make the end result better. As a beginner, practicing the basics and completing projects is essential to building a base set of skills and muscle memory for your knitting. So be mindful of the yarn you choose, but don't go overboard in your choices. First, let's look at the thickness of yarn. This one, super bulky. This one, super small. This one, medium. In general, the thinner the yarn is, the longer it will take to knit the same amount as you would with a thicker yarn. Granted, knitting needles you choose will have an effect, which we'll talk about later. Also, when using smaller yarn, you'll have a harder time knitting in general, since the loops in the knitting will be smaller, harder to pick up with the needles. Next, let's look at the material. As a beginner, I would recommend sticking with acrylic to start, since they are cheap and plentiful. Now, when thinking about the actual end product, choosing materials appropriately can be vital. Think about the purpose of the product. Is it supposed to keep you warm? Think about using wool yarn. It'll be a lot more expensive, but way warmer and more comfortable than acrylic. Now, say you want to make a toy or something along those lines. Acrylic is durable, sufficient, and cheap. The last property list we'll look at is color. You're free to choose whatever color you want, but be aware, depending on the maker, it is possible that the color you choose one week will no longer be the next week, even though it looks like it is. The color will be just slightly off, but when knitting together with the previous yarn color, it will be obviously different. So if they are available, look for the color numbers and the lot numbers. Like there. And match them with the numbers you already have. If you're going to make a specific project, keep in mind color could change while you're knitting, so getting extra yarn might be a prudent precaution. Now let's get into the yarn. As in the nature of yarn, there are two ends to each ball of yarn, and choosing the correct one can prevent headaches in the future. There will be one end on the outside, Exhibit A, and if you choose this one to start with, the ball will be rolling around every time you try to get more yarn. The other end will normally be in the center of the yarn, and some manufacturers will be nice and have it poking out so it's easy to get, like this one, and others you'll have to dig to find it, which, like this one, and I'm not gonna actually bother trying. This end will be the most recommended because as you pull, it's not rolling around and going everywhere as you pull. It's just unraveling on the inside. When getting the inside end, sometimes it can be very easy. Other times, you will get half of the ball of yarn with it. Now, as long as you get the end, don't worry about it. The rest will be taken care of as you knit. That's it for yarn. There's much more you can learn and think about yarn when knitting, but this is the basics to think about when you start. This has been Knitting According to the Nightingale.